Noah Harper always thought his parents were strange, not the kind of strange people talked about openly, the kind that sat quietly beneath the surface, the kind you noticed only when you compared your family to everyone else's. He noticed it most at school. When his friends talked about family vacations, his parents never took him anywhere. When other kids had relatives visiting for holidays, Noah couldn't remember meeting a single aunt, uncle, or cousin. Whenever he asked about family, his mother would smile tightly and change the subject. His father wouldn't even answer. The rules were stranger. Noah wasn't allowed in the basement without permission. He wasn't allowed in the attic. He wasn't allowed to answer the front door. And every night at exactly 10 o'clock, his parents locked every door in the house. Every single one. Noah was 13 years old enough to know that none of this was normal. The basement rule bothered him most. Because unlike the attic, which was dusty and boring, the basement felt important. There was always something happening down there. Late at night, he would hear footsteps, doors opening, metal locks clicking, sometimes voices, quiet voices, too quiet to understand. Whenever he asked about it, his father became angry. Basement is off limits. That was always the answer. No explanation, no discussion, just those 4 words. The basement is off limits. For years, Noah obeyed. Until the day curiosity finally became stronger than fear. It happened on a rainy Saturday afternoon. His parents left to run errands. His mother kissed his forehead before leaving. His father reminded him not to touch anything downstairs. That warning alone made Noah suspicious. The second their car disappeared down the road, he headed for the basement. The stairs creaked beneath his feet. The air smelled cold and dusty. Rows of shelves lined the walls and boxes or old paint cans and tools, nothing unusual. At first. Then Noah noticed something he'd never paid attention to before. One shelf looked different. The dust pattern wasn't the same. The floor beneath it showed scrape marks, like it had been moved many times. His heart began racing. Slowly he pushed. The shelf slid sideways. A hidden doorway appeared behind it. Noah stared. His mouth went dry. A staircase descended into darkness. A staircase that shouldn't exist. The house plans he'd seen online never mentioned another basement. Yet there it was, waiting. A secret hidden beneath the house. Thunder rumbled outside. Noah swallowed hard. Every instinct told him to stop, to put the shelf back, to pretend he'd never found it. Instead, he grabbed a flashlight and started walking down. The deeper he descended, the colder the air became. The stairs seemed endless. Concrete walls surrounded him. The smell changed too. Less like a basement, more like somewhere people actually lived. Eventually the staircase ended. A metal door stood at the bottom. A heavy lock secured it. Noah froze. Something about the door terrified him. Not because it looked dangerous, because it looked used. Someone went through it regularly. Someone had been hiding something, or someone. Then he heard a voice, soft, female, from behind the door. "Mom?" Noah nearly dropped the flashlight. The voice sounded young, confused, almost sleepy. Silence followed, and then the voice spoke again. "Is it breakfast time?" Noah's pulse hammered in his ears. There was a person down here. A real person, living beneath the house. His shaking hands reached for the lock. It wasn't secured. Someone must have forgotten. The metal latch clicked open, slowly, carefully. Noah pulled the door outward. The room beyond looked impossible. A bed, bookshelves, a small television, a desk, drawings taped to the walls. And sitting cross-legged on the bed was a young woman. She couldn't have been much older than 19. Her skin looked unusually pale. Her dark hair hung messily around her shoulders. She squinted against the flashlight, then smiled. "You're different." Noah couldn't speak. The girl tilted her head, studying him, like she had never seen another person before. "Are you my new teacher?" The question sent chills through his entire body. "No." His voice cracked. The girl looked confused. "Oh." She paused. Then who are you? Noah stared. What do you mean? The girl pointed at him. I've never seen you before. For several seconds, neither spoke. Then Noah asked the question that changed everything. Who are you? The girl's smile faded, slowly, like nobody had asked her that before. My name is Elizabeth. Silence. My name is Elizabeth Harper. Noah felt the world tilt. Harper. His last name. Elizabeth noticed his expression. What's wrong? Noah could barely breathe. Harper is my last name too. The room became completely silent. Elizabeth blinked, once. Noah didn't sleep that night. Every time he closed his eyes, he saw the room. The bed, the bookshelves, the pale girl sitting cross-legged beneath a ceiling she had probably stared at for years. Elizabeth and his sister, the word felt impossible. For 13 years, Noah had believed he was an only child. Now, suddenly, there was a 19-year-old girl living beneath his house. Not visiting, not hiding, living. The thought made his stomach twist. At breakfast the next morning, he couldn't stop looking at his parents. His mother sat quietly drinking coffee. His father read the newspaper. Both looked completely normal. That was the frightening part. They looked normal. Not nervous, not worried, and not guilty. If they were hiding someone underground, they certainly didn't act like it. His mother noticed him staring. What? Noah quickly looked away. Nothing, she smiled. For a moment he wondered if he should tell them. Maybe there was an explanation. Maybe Elizabeth wasn't a prisoner. Maybe there was something he didn't understand. Then he remembered the locked staircase, the hidden room, the confusion in Elizabeth's eyes. No, there was no explanation that made sense. After breakfast, he waited. His parents spent most Sundays gardening. That gave him almost 2 hours. 2 hours to return below, 2 hours to learn the truth. The moment they stepped outside, Noah moved. Down the stairs, past the basement shelves. Through the hidden doorway, his flashlight beam bounced against concrete walls as he descended. The deeper he went, the more nervous he became. What if Elizabeth told their parents? What if she wasn't actually trapped? What if she refused to speak? When he reached the door, he hesitated. Then he knocked. Silence. A few seconds later, he heard movement. The door opened slightly. Elizabeth peered through the gap. The moment she recognized him, her eyes widened. You came back. The words sounded surprised, almost hopeful. Noah stepped inside. Elizabeth immediately closed the door behind him. Then she stared, just stared, as if she were trying to solve a puzzle. Finally, she pointed at him. Are you real? Noah blinked. What? She stepped closer. Are you real? He wasn't sure how to answer. Of course I'm real. Elizabeth frowned. No. She shook her head. You don't understand. Her voice dropped. Mom said strange people can appear sometimes. Noah felt a chill. What do you mean? They test me. Test you how? She hesitated. Then she lowered herself onto the edge of the bed. When I was little, I used to ask questions. What kind of questions? Elizabeth looked toward the floor. The same questions everybody asks. She paused, then corrected herself. The same questions I asked. Noah sat down across from her. What questions? Her eyes lifted. What exists above us? The room suddenly felt colder. Elizabeth continued. I asked where the food came from. She swallowed. I asked where Mom and Dad went when they left. Her fingers twisted nervously together. And every time I asked, she stopped. Noah waited. Eventually she whispered. They said I was imagining things. For a long moment, neither spoke. Noah could already feel the shape of something terrible. Not physical abuse, not violence. Something different. Something harder to see. The destruction of reality itself. Elizabeth, he said carefully, how many people do you think exist? She looked confused. What do you mean? How many humans? Elizabeth stared, then shrugged. 3. The answer hit him harder than he expected. 3? She genuinely believed only 3 people existed. Her, their mother, their father. Nobody else. No friends, no teachers, no neighbors, no strangers, nobody. Noah slowly removed his phone. He opened the photo gallery, then handed it to her. Elizabeth took it cautiously. The first image showed Noah and 3 classmates standing outside school. She studied it. Her expression didn't change. The next image showed a crowded football game, then a shopping centre, then a city street packed with hundreds of people. Elizabeth stared longer, and longer, and longer. Her breathing became uneven. No. Noah said nothing. No. She shook her head. These aren't real. They are. No. She pushed the phone back toward him. Those are drawings. They're photographs. They're fake. They aren't. Elizabeth stood suddenly, pacing, panicking. No! Her voice became louder. My parents would have told me. Noah's heart sank. This wasn't going to be easy. 19 years of belief couldn't disappear in one afternoon, especially when those beliefs were all she had ever known. Eventually, Elizabeth sat back down. Neither spoke for several minutes. Then she asked a question that completely changed the conversation. What year is it? Noah frowned. What? What year is it? He told her. Elizabeth froze. The colour drained from her face. Slowly, she looked toward a calendar hanging beside her desk. The calendar was nearly 20 years old. She stared at it, then stared at him, then back at the calendar. The realization began spreading across her features, like ice cracking across a frozen lake. Mom said it was still. She stopped. Noah understood immediately. They hadn't just lied about the world, they had lied about time. Days, months, years, everything. Elizabeth suddenly looked very small. Not physically, emotionally. Like a child discovering that the adults she trusted most had betrayed her. I don't understand. Neither did Noah. Not yet. But he intended to. For the next hour, they talked. Really talked. For the first time in Elizabeth's life, she spoke to someone her own age. Or close to it. And Noah learned more with every minute. She had never been outside. At least not as far as she remembered. She had never met another person. Never attended school. Never celebrated holidays. Never used the internet. Never seen the sky. The sky fascinated her most. She kept returning to it, asking questions. What colour is it? Blue. Always? No. When does it change? Sunset. What does that look like? Noah struggled to explain. How do you explain a sunset to someone who has never seen the sun? Eventually he searched for a photograph. Orange clouds and pink light. A horizon stretching forever. Elizabeth stared silently. Then tears filled her eyes. Not dramatic tears, not sobbing, just quiet tears. The kind that appear when someone's world becomes larger than they ever imagined. It looks beautiful. It is. She wiped her eyes quickly, almost embarrassed. Then she whispered, I thought ceilings went on forever. Noah looked up. The concrete roof hung only a few feet above their heads. 19 years. 19 years beneath that ceiling. 19 years believing it was normal. The thought made him sick. Hours passed before either noticed. Eventually Noah checked the time. His stomach dropped. His parents would return soon. He stood. I have to go. Elizabeth immediately looked frightened. You're leaving? I'll come back. How do I know? The question hurt, because Noah realized she had no reason to trust him. Everyone she trusted had lied. For 19 years. So why believe him? Carefully he walked to the bookshelf. He removed a small notebook from his backpack, then handed it to her. Elizabeth examined it. What is this? A journal. She looked confused. So write questions. What? Anything you want to know. He smiled slightly. When I come back, I'll answer them. Elizabeth stared at the notebook, then at him. Slowly she nodded. The smallest hint of a smile appeared. For the first time since meeting her, she seemed hopeful. Noah moved toward the door. Before leaving, he turned back. Elizabeth sat on the bed holding the notebook, watching him, like someone watching the last light disappear before darkness. Elizabeth. She looked up. I promise I'll come back. This time she smiled. A real smile. Small, fragile, but real. Okay. Noah climbed the staircase, his mind racing, his heart pounding. The deeper mystery was only beginning. Because one thing had become painfully clear. Elizabeth wasn't dangerous. She wasn't unstable. She wasn't being protected. She was being controlled. And somewhere inside that house, his parents knew exactly why. The question was whether Noah could uncover the truth before they realized he had already found it. And beneath the house, alone once again, Elizabeth opened the notebook. For several minutes she stared at the blank pages. Then she wrote her very first question, a question she had wondered her entire life. What does the sky feel like? The next 3 days felt endless. For Noah, every hour at school dragged by, every lesson, every lunch period, every conversation. None of it felt important anymore. While his classmates worried about homework and sports, a 19-year-old girl sat beneath his house trying to understand whether the sky existed. The thought consumed him. By Wednesday afternoon, he could barely focus. The second school ended, he raced home. His parents wouldn't return for another hour. That gave him enough time. Hopefully. He hurried downstairs and past the basement, past the hidden shelf, past the concrete staircase. When he reached Elizabeth's door, he knocked twice. Immediately, footsteps approached. The door opened. Elizabeth looked excited, genuinely excited. For someone who had spent most of her life isolated, the difference was obvious. The moment she saw him, she smiled. And for the first time, Noah realized how young she actually seemed. Not 19. Not emotionally. More like someone frozen halfway between childhood and adulthood. Someone who had never been allowed to grow normally. You came back. I promised. Elizabeth held up the notebook. Every page was filled. Noah blinked. You wrote all that? She nodded. There were a lot of questions. Apparently. The notebook looked exhausted. Pages filled with messy handwriting. Questions. Do oceans have walls? Can birds choose where they go? How many people exist? How large is the sky? What is rain? Why would someone lie about the world? That last question made Noah uncomfortable. He wasn't sure how to answer it, Elizabeth noticed. You don't know either. No. She sat quietly, then nodded. Okay. Noah opened his backpack. I brought something. Elizabeth immediately leaned forward. What is it? A laptop. She froze. The word meant nothing. What does that do? Noah smiled slightly. It shows information. Elizabeth looked skeptical. Like books? Kind of. He powered it on. The screen illuminated the room. Elizabeth jumped. Actually jumped. Her entire body recoiled. Noah quickly lowered the brightness. It's okay. She stared, breathing rapidly, the glowing screen reflected in her eyes. What is that? A computer? No. She pointed. The light. Noah realized something. She wasn't reacting to the device. She was reacting to brightness. The room she lived in contained only dim lamps. Nothing this intense. After several moments, she relaxed. Slowly, carefully, like approaching a wild animal. Then she sat beside him. Noah opened images. Cities, forests, animals, rivers, crowded streets. Elizabeth watched silently. At first, she treated everything like fiction, like watching a movie. Then Noah showed her videos. That changed everything. A waterfall crashing against rocks, children playing in snow, birds flying overhead, a crowded train station, people laughing, talking, living. For the first time, doubt appeared. Real doubt. Not curiosity and not confusion, doubt. The kind that grows when reality no longer matches belief. How? Noah looked over. Elizabeth's eyes remained fixed on the screen. How what? How can all this exist? Noah didn't know. Not because the answer was difficult, because the question itself was heartbreaking. She wasn't asking how cities existed, or oceans, or birds. She was asking how an entire universe could exist without her ever knowing, as if she'd spent her life inside a locked closet while the world continued outside, which Noah realized wasn't far from the truth. The next video showed a beach. Waves rolled toward shore, sunlight reflected across the water. People walked barefoot through the sand. Elizabeth stared, then slowly reached toward the screen. Her fingers touched the image. For a moment, she looked genuinely disappointed. It isn't real. It is. No. She shook her head. I mean, her voice grew quiet. I can't feel it. Noah swallowed. The sadness in those words lingered, because she was right. To Elizabeth, everything beyond those walls remained abstract. Beautiful, but abstract. Like a dream. Then Noah noticed something. A photograph taped beside her desk. He had overlooked it before. The image showed a simple drawing. A sun. A tree. A little girl standing outside. Did you draw that? Elizabeth nodded. When? She thought. A long time ago. Noah walked closer. The drawing looked old. Very old. Perhaps 15 years old, maybe more. The paper had yellowed and the edges curled. You've always imagined outside? Elizabeth hesitated, then nodded again. My dreams. Noah turned. What? My dreams. Her voice lowered. Sometimes I dream about places. What places? I don't know. She looked embarrassed. They disappear when I wake up. A strange feeling crept into Noah's chest. Dreams. Memories. Maybe there wasn't much difference. Not after 19 years. That evening, Noah learned something else. Something far more disturbing. Elizabeth remembered things she shouldn't. Small things. Random things. Pieces of a life she supposedly never lived. Dogs, school buses and playgrounds, ice cream, traffic lights. None of it made sense. If she'd spent her entire life underground, how could she know those things? The answer seemed obvious. She hadn't spent her entire life underground. She simply couldn't remember the beginning. And someone wanted it that way. Hours later, Noah finally prepared to leave. Before he reached the door, Elizabeth spoke. Can I ask one more question? Sure. She hesitated, then asked, Why are your parents different than mine? The room became silent. Noah wasn't sure how to respond, because technically they weren't different. They were the same people. And that realization terrified him. Much more than any hidden room. Much more than any secret staircase. Because it meant he didn't actually know his parents at all. Not really. Not anymore. When Noah climbed upstairs that night, he carried more questions than answers. But one thought remained louder than the others. Elizabeth wasn't discovering a new world. She was remembering one. And someone had spent 19 years trying to make her forget. By the end of the week, Noah had developed a routine. School, home, wait for an opportunity. Visit Elizabeth. Every day became a balancing act. Every conversation with his parents felt dangerous. Every trip downstairs felt riskier than the last. Yet somehow, the secret remained hidden, at least for now. The strange thing was that Noah no longer felt nervous around Elizabeth. The fear from that first meeting had disappeared. In its place was something else, concern. Because the more he learned about her life, the more disturbing it became. Not because of what had happened, because of what Elizabeth considered normal. On Friday afternoon, Noah arrived carrying a small bag of snacks. Nothing expensive, just things she had never tried before. Chips, chocolate, soda. Simple things. Elizabeth examined them like artifacts from another planet. What is this? She held up a can of soda. You drink it. She turned it over, studying the label. Why? Noah laughed. I don't know. Because it tastes good. Elizabeth stared at him, then laughed too. A genuine laugh. The sound surprised both of them. It echoed through the room. For a brief moment, she looked like any other teenager. Not a prisoner, not a victim, just a normal girl. Then the moment passed. Reality returned. As they ate, Noah noticed something strange. Elizabeth never sat facing the door. Never. She always positioned herself where she could see it. At first, he assumed it was coincidence. Then he realized it wasn't. Every movement she made seemed shaped by habit. Years of habit. Eventually he asked, "Why do you always watch the door?" Elizabeth looked confused. "What do you mean?" "You keep looking at it." She glanced toward the metal entrance and then shrugged. "That's where they come from." Something about the way she said it bothered him. "They?" "Mom and Dad." Noah frowned. "You act like you're expecting them." Elizabeth became quiet. For several seconds she stared at the floor. Then she spoke. "Because I always have to." A knot formed in Noah's stomach. "What do you mean?" Again she hesitated, like she wasn't sure whether she should answer. Finally she sighed. "There are rules." "What rules?" Elizabeth looked surprised. "You don't have rules?" "No." She blinked. "What?" "No." Noah shook his head. "Not like that." For the first time, genuine confusion appeared on her face, as if the idea of living without strict rules seemed impossible. Slowly she sat down, then began explaining. Rule 1. Never touch the door unless Mom or Dad opens it first. Rule 2. Never ask where they go. Rule 3. Never ask how food arrives. Rule 4. Never ask about the years before the room. Rule 5. Never look directly into bright lights. Rule 6. Never talk to strangers. Rule 7. Never question what you're told. The list continued, and continued, and continued. Dozens of rules, maybe hundreds. Some made sense. Most didn't. By the time she finished, Noah felt sick. The rules weren't designed to keep Elizabeth safe. They were designed to keep her dependent. Dependent people don't ask questions. Dependent people don't escape. Dependent people obey. What happens if you break them? Elizabeth immediately looked away. That answer alone told him enough. "What happens?" Her voice dropped to a whisper. "They stop talking to me." Noah stared. "What?" "They leave." The words sounded small, fragile. "They leave for days." The realization hit him instantly. Isolation, that was the punishment. Not violence, not yelling. Abandonment for someone whose entire world consisted of two people. Abandonment was devastating. The cruel genius of it made Noah shiver. They had built Elizabeth's entire reality around themselves, then used their absence as a weapon. No bruises, no evidence, just fear. The fear of being alone. For 19 years. Suddenly a memory surfaced. Something Elizabeth had said days earlier, that she sometimes went weeks without seeing anyone. At the time, Noah hadn't thought much of it. Now he understood. Those weren't random gaps. They were punishments. The room felt colder, the walls somehow closer. And for the first time, Noah felt genuinely angry. Not confused, not curious. Angry. Nobody deserved this, especially not Elizabeth. As the afternoon continued, they talked about other things. Movies, food, dreams, anything except the rules. Eventually Noah stood to leave, but before he reached the door, something caught his eye. A tiny reflection, high in the corner, almost invisible. He stopped. Elizabeth noticed. "What?" Noah walked closer. The reflection disappeared, then reappeared. A tiny red dot. His stomach dropped. A camera. Hidden inside a ventilation grate, for several seconds he couldn't breathe. Then instinct took over. He smiled and pretended nothing was wrong, and walked away. Only after reaching the staircase did panic set in. A camera. Not one, a hidden camera, which meant someone was watching. Maybe live. Maybe recorded. Either way, it changed everything. Every conversation, every question, every visit. Potentially observed. That night, Noah couldn't stop thinking about it. Around midnight, he slipped from bed, grabbed a flashlight, and returned downstairs. Not to visit Elizabeth. To investigate. The basement seemed different now. More threatening. more secretive. He searched carefully. Every wall, every shelf, every corner. Eventually he found another camera, then another, then another. His pulse quickened. 3 cameras, just in the basement. Not counting whatever existed below. The discovery made one thing clear. His parents weren't casually hiding Elizabeth. They were monitoring her, constantly, systematically, for years. Then Noah noticed something else. Wires. Thin wires disappearing behind a storage cabinet. He followed them, step by step, until they reached a locked metal box, a recording system. His heart hammered. Proof. Actual proof. Before he could investigate further, a floorboard creaked overhead. Noah froze. Footsteps, his father's footsteps, moving through the house. At midnight. For several terrifying seconds, Noah remained perfectly still. The footsteps paused, then continued, toward the basement stairs, toward him. Noah's blood turned to ice. Quickly he killed the flashlight. Darkness swallowed everything. The basement door opened above, slowly, deliberately. A beam of light swept across the room. His father, standing at the top of the stairs, watching, waiting, looking directly into the darkness, as if he knew someone was there. Noah pressed himself against the shelves, barely breathing. The light continued searching. 1 second, 5 seconds, 10 seconds. Then finally it disappeared. The door closed. The footsteps retreated. Only then did Noah move, his entire body trembling. Something had changed. He could feel it. Maybe his father hadn't seen him. Maybe he had. Either way, the margin for error was shrinking. The secret wasn't safe anymore. And if his parents discovered what Noah knew, or worse, if they discovered what Elizabeth was beginning to remember, everything could fall apart, much faster than either of them were prepared for. Because somewhere inside that house, hidden beneath years of lies, the truth was getting closer. And the people who buried it were starting to notice the ground shifting. The next morning, Noah could barely look at his parents, not because he was afraid they would know, because he was afraid he would. Afraid that one wrong expression, one extra second of eye contact, one nervous movement would reveal everything. His father sat at the kitchen table stirring sugar into his coffee. Slowly, carefully. The spoon clicked against the mug, again and again, and again. Noah hated the sound. His mother moved around the kitchen, humming softly as if nothing in the world was wrong. As if there wasn't a girl locked beneath the house. As if hidden cameras weren't buried in the walls. As if their family wasn't built on something rotten. "You're quiet," his mother said. Noah looked up. Her eyes were gentle, too gentle. "I'm just tired." His father didn't look at him. But the spoon stopped moving. For 1 second, the kitchen became completely silent. Then his father spoke. "Didn't sleep well?" Noah forced a shrug. "Not really." His father finally looked at him. There was nothing obvious in his expression. No anger, no suspicion, no warning. But Noah still felt it. Something sharp beneath the surface. "Maybe stay out of the basement today," his father said. Noah's stomach tightened. His mother turned quickly. "Richard." His father lifted his mug. "What?" She stared at him. He stared back. The conversation ended there, but Noah understood. That wasn't a random comment. It was a message. Maybe his father had heard something the night before. Maybe he had seen something. Maybe he knew Noah had been close to the recording box. Either way, Noah needed to be more careful, so he did exactly what his father told him. He stayed away from the basement, at least while they were awake. All day, he waited. He watched the clock. He listened to his parents moving through the house. The hours passed slowly, painfully slowly. When night finally came, Noah pretended to go to sleep. He turned off his light, climbed into bed, pulled the blanket over himself, then waited. 1 hour, 2. At midnight, the house settled into silence. Noah moved. This time he didn't go downstairs. He went up, to the attic. The attic had its own rule, different from the basement but just as strict. Never go up there without permission. For years, Noah assumed it was because of old insulation, weak flooring, or boxes that might fall. Now he knew better. In this house, forbidden places weren't dangerous because of what could happen to him. They were dangerous because of what he might find. The attic door was in the hallway ceiling. A pull-down ladder. Noah had only seen it open twice in his life, both times by his father, both times quickly. He reached up, grabbed the cord, and pulled. The ladder unfolded with a loud wooden creak. Noah froze, listened, no movement. He climbed. The attic smelled like dust, cardboard, and heat trapped from summers long gone. His flashlight cut through darkness. Boxes filled the space, holiday decorations, old clothes, broken lamps, stacks of papers. At first it seemed ordinary, but ordinary no longer meant safe. Noah moved carefully. He searched through labelled boxes first. Kitchen, Christmas, tax records, baby clothes. He stopped. Baby clothes. The box sat near the back, half hidden beneath an old blanket. His hands trembled as he opened it. Inside were tiny folded outfits, pink sweaters, small socks, a yellow dress, a soft white blanket with embroidered flowers. At the bottom was a hospital bracelet. Elizabeth Harper. Noah stared at the name. It was real. Not that he doubted her anymore. But seeing it there, printed on something official, made everything heavier. Elizabeth had not been some secret stranger. She had been a baby, their daughter, his sister. Carefully, Noah set the bracelet aside and kept searching. Under the clothing was an envelope. Old, yellowed, unmarked. Inside were photographs. Dozens of them. Elizabeth as a toddler, Elizabeth holding a stuffed rabbit, Elizabeth laughing in a backyard. Elizabeth sitting on their mother's lap. Elizabeth standing beside their father while he pushed her on a swing. Noah's chest tightened. She looked happy, completely undeniably happy. And outside, always outside, grass beneath her feet, sunlight on her face, wind in her hair. No concrete, no locked door, no basement, no lies. He flipped through the photographs faster. Birthday candles, a park, a small red bicycle, a family picnic. Then the photos changed. The smiles became less frequent. His mother looked tired. His father looked tense. Elizabeth looked smaller somehow, not younger, smaller, as if fear had already started to shrink her. The last picture showed Elizabeth standing near the front porch. She was about 4 years old. Her eyes were turned towards something outside the frame. Something she seemed afraid of. On the back, written in his mother's handwriting, was a date, 19 years ago. After that, nothing. No more pictures, no school photos, no birthdays and no holidays. Just silence. The kind of silence people create when they want history to stop. Noah searched deeper. Behind the box of baby clothes, he found another box. This one wasn't labelled. It was taped shut. The tape was old but thick. His fingers struggled to peel it back. Finally, the cardboard opened. Inside were newspapers, folded carefully, preserved. The top headline made Noah's breath catch. Local girl reported missing after family incident. He read the article once, then again, and again. The words blurred. Elizabeth Harper, age 4, had been reported missing from her home after what neighbours described as a loud argument late in the evening. Police searched the area. Volunteers combed the woods. Neighbours were questioned. No one found her. The article said her parents were devastated. Her mother cried during interviews. Her father pleaded for help. For weeks, the town searched for Elizabeth. And all along, she had been beneath the house. Noah felt dizzy. He sat back against a beam, newspaper shaking in his hands. His parents had not only hidden Elizabeth, they had lied to everyone. Police, neighbours and family, the entire town. They let people search for a child who was only a few feet below them. The cruelty of it was almost impossible to understand. He kept digging. More articles. Day 5. Search continues for missing child. Police say no new leads. Family holds candlelight vigil. Mother of missing girl begs for answers. Noah stopped on the last headline. A photograph showed his parents standing in front of the house, his mother crying, his father holding her shoulders. Behind them, barely visible through a basement window, was a shadow. Noah leaned closer. The image was grainy, almost meaningless. But the longer he stared, the more certain he became. There was someone behind that glass. Small, still, watching. Elizabeth. His hand flew to his mouth. She had been there, during the vigil, during the interviews, and during the searches. She had been right there, hidden below everyone. A sound escaped Noah's throat, half gasp, half sob. He pressed his fist against his lips to stay quiet. Then he saw something else in the box. A file folder, thin, brown, marked with one word. Incident. Inside were papers, medical forms, police notes, a handwritten statement. Noah read quickly. Not everything made sense, but enough did. Elizabeth had witnessed something. Something involving a neighbor. Something that frightened her parents. Something they believed would tear their family apart. The documents never said exactly what happened. Only fragments. Interview requested. Child repeatedly mentions the man at the fence. Mother refuses second evaluation. Father becomes hostile. Family withdraws cooperation. Then a final note. Parents believe Elizabeth is unsafe around outsiders. Noah read the sentence 3 times. Unsafe around outsiders. Not outsiders unsafe around her. Her parents had twisted fear into justification. Something happened to Elizabeth when she was little. Maybe something real. Maybe something misunderstood. But instead of protecting her properly, instead of getting help, instead of letting police investigate, they locked her away. And over time, protection became control. Control became obsession. Obsession became a prison. A floorboard creaked below. Noah froze. Someone was awake. He shoved the papers back into the folder, closed the box, grabbed the photographs and one newspaper. He knew it was risky, but Elizabeth needed proof. She needed to know she had existed before the room. He tucked them under his shirt, then moved toward the attic ladder. Another creak, closer. His bedroom door opened below. Noah stopped breathing. His mother's voice drifted up the hallway. Noah! Soft, careful. Too close. He turned off the flashlight. The attic went black. Dust floated in the darkness. His mother stepped into his room. He could hear her. The floor creaked beneath her feet. A pause, then the sound of blankets moving. She was checking his bed. Noah's heart slammed against his ribs. He pictured the empty mattress, the pillow he had shaped beneath the blanket. Would it fool her? Seconds passed, then more seconds. Finally, she whispered something he almost didn't hear. Please don't make this harder. Noah's blood went cold. She knew. Maybe not everything, but enough. His mother left the room. The door closed. Noah remained frozen in the attic for several minutes. Unable to move, unable to think. Only one thing was clear. The missing years weren't missing anymore. They were buried. And the people who buried them had just started digging back. Noah didn't sleep that night. Not after what happened in the attic. Not after hearing his mother's voice. Not after hearing those words. Please don't make this harder. The sentence repeated itself over and over in his mind. It wasn't a threat. That was what bothered him. If she had threatened him, it would have been easier. If she had yelled, if she had punished him, if she had admitted the truth. Instead, she sounded tired, exhausted, almost sad, as if she genuinely believed she was doing the right thing. And somehow that felt worse, because monsters were easy to understand. People who believed they were saving someone? Those were harder. Much harder. The next morning, Noah waited until both parents left. Then he ran downstairs, past the hidden shelf, past the staircase, past the locked door. Elizabeth opened it before he could knock. One look at his face told her something was wrong. What happened? Noah stepped inside, then carefully removed the photographs from his backpack. For a moment, Elizabeth didn't move. She simply stared. The first photograph showed a little girl on a swing. The second showed a birthday cake. The third showed a bicycle. The fourth showed a family picnic. And in every single photograph, the little girl was her. Elizabeth sat down slowly, like her legs had suddenly stopped working. No. The word barely escaped her lips. Noah handed her another photograph, then another, then another. Elizabeth examined each one, silently, carefully, like someone trying to remember a forgotten language. Her fingers trembled. Her breathing grew uneven. Then she stopped. One photograph. A playground. Children running, Elizabeth standing beside them, smiling. Something changed in her eyes. A memory. Not complete, not clear, but enough. I remember this. Noah looked up. What? She stared at the picture. The slide. Her voice sounded distant. The blue slide. She touched the photograph. I remember falling. The room became completely silent. For 19 years, Elizabeth's memories had existed like shadows, shapes without meaning, dreams without context. Now they were returning, slowly, piece by piece, and once they started, they didn't stop. The bicycle, the park, the tree in the backyard, a dog, a neighbour, the smell of grass, a school bus. Fragments surfaced everywhere, not all at once, but enough to hurt, because every memory came with a realization she had lost it. Not naturally, not accidentally. Someone had taken it from her. The room felt smaller, the air heavier. Finally, Elizabeth looked at Noah. Tears filled her eyes. Why? Noah didn't answer, because he couldn't. He didn't know. Maybe nobody knew. Not completely. But he did know one thing. Whatever began as fear had transformed into something else. Something much darker. Control. For a long time, neither spoke. Eventually, Noah removed the newspaper article. He wasn't sure whether he should show her. But she deserved the truth. All of it. Carefully, he placed it beside the photographs. Elizabeth read. Every word, slowly, painfully. The article described her disappearance. The search, the investigation, the volunteers, the police, the town. People had searched for her, hundreds of them. People she never knew existed. People who cared. People who spent nights walking through forests trying to find her. Elizabeth stared at the page, then whispered, "They looked for me." Noah nodded. The tears finally came, not loud, not dramatic, just quiet, steady, heartbreaking. Because for 19 years, Elizabeth believed nobody existed outside her parents. Now she was discovering that entire communities once searched for her, that strangers cared whether she lived or died, that the world had not forgotten her. The world simply never knew where she was. Hours passed. The conversation shifted. For the first time, they talked about escape. Not as a dream, not as a fantasy, as a real possibility. Elizabeth listened carefully. Every detail mattered. The staircase, the doors, the timing, the cameras, the risks. She was terrified. And Noah understood why. To him, leaving meant freedom. To Elizabeth, leaving meant stepping into an entirely different universe. Everything she knew existed inside these walls, even the walls themselves, yet despite the fear, she agreed. Because staying was no longer possible. Once you discover the truth, the lies become unbearable. By evening, Noah prepared to leave. Again. But this time something felt different. Like the story was reaching its end. Not the end of their lives. The end of the prison. Before he reached the door, Elizabeth stopped him. Wait. Noah turned. She held the notebook, the one he had given her weeks earlier. Slowly she opened it, then flipped through pages. Question after question. Hundreds of them. Questions about oceans, birds, people, clouds, rain, the sky. Eventually she reached the first page, the very first question she had ever written. What does the sky feel like? She stared at the words, then smiled, a small smile, the kind people wear when they finally understand something. I think I know now. Noah looked confused. You do? Elizabeth nodded. For several moments she searched for the right words. Then finally she found them. No, she laughed softly. Not exactly. Her eyes moved toward the ceiling, toward the concrete above them, toward the world beyond. But I think I know why people love it. Noah waited. Elizabeth folded the notebook closed. When you've spent your whole life beneath a ceiling, she paused. The idea of something with no ending feels beautiful. The words hung in the air, simple, quiet, true. Neither spoke for a while. Eventually Noah climbed the staircase, one step, then another. Halfway up he looked back. Elizabeth stood in the doorway, watching, not afraid anymore, not completely. Just waiting, waiting for tomorrow, waiting for freedom, waiting for the first sunrise she would ever see. And for the first time since discovering her, Noah wasn't overwhelmed by fear. He wasn't thinking about cameras, or secrets, or hidden rooms. He wasn't thinking about what his parents might do. Instead, he thought about possibility, about the strange resilience of people, about how hope survives even in places where it shouldn't, especially in places where it shouldn't. Years later, Noah would struggle to remember many details from that house. Certain conversations would fade, specific dates would blur, even some faces would become distant. But he would always remember that moment. Elizabeth standing beneath the concrete ceiling, holding a notebook full of questions, smiling toward a sky she had never seen. Because sometimes freedom doesn't begin when a door opens. Sometimes freedom begins much earlier. The moment someone learns the door exists. And somewhere above them, beyond layers of concrete and years of lies, the evening sky stretched endlessly across the horizon. Blue fading into gold, gold fading into orange, orange fading into darkness, waiting, patiently, for the girl below to finally look up. The end.